Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Cruising your way next, Off 90. A Rochester man who loves flying. A honey farm near Janesville. And a metal fabricator near Good Thunder. It's all coming up on your next stop, Off 90. Hi, I'm Barbara Keith. Thanks for joining me on this trip, Off 90. John Gressett says people either enjoy flying or they don't. Gressett started young as a glider pilot. Now he pilots light aircraft and teaches flying in Rochester. To Gressett, flying is freedom at its best. He says the instrumentation and navigation in light planes make them safer than ever before, and he invites one and all to give flying a try. Let's get on the runway and have some fun.
There are some people who want to get into airplanes and just can't wait to do it and love every second of it and embrace it. And then there's other people like, no, flying is not for me and I don't want to get in there. You can't pay me enough money to get in there. I'm not doing it, right? And what I have found over the years is there's no in between. You either really love it or it's like, no, there's no way I'm going to do it.
Clear.
I am John Gressett. I'm a pilot from Rochester, Minnesota.
Sirius 8 Juliet Bravo, Roger. I will have a code for you shortly. And what direction did you say you were departing?
Yeah, we're going to go off 13 and then a shallow turn to the north and then southeast route in front of Rochester City.
Roger.
If somebody walks off the street and wants to learn how to fly, I can help them. Usually the first thing I ask them is, can you drive? And do you drive well? Because if you can drive well, you can probably fly a plane, but if you don't drive well, we don't really want you in the plane. So that's the really only metric. So a lot of people don't understand that it's not that hard to fly. People are intimidated by it, and I don't want them to be. It's something everyone can do.
You know, it's kind of an interesting thing with your the camera, is it looks like the propeller's still, but it's actually going around at 800, 900 RPM right now. And Rochester Tower, Sirius 718 Juliet Bravo, flight attitude ready to go, Alpha 1013.
Sirius 718 Juliet Bravo, Rochester Tower. Roger, standby, traffic short final.
78 Juliet Bravo, remain short 13.
A 13.
Doors are latched, caps handles removed, seatbelts on, air conditioners off, fuel quantity confirmed, looking good. One thing about flying that you'll find out is that you're constantly rechecking everything. Fuel pump comes on, mixture full rich, flaps 50%, right, left, all checked. Transponder he gave us 0462, so we'll keep with that. Amazingly, pilots are human, and humans make all sorts of mistakes, and so what you need to do is be tolerant of those mistakes, know that you're going to make those mistakes, and then just stay on top of it all the time.
Like any boy or girl when you're young, you look up in the sky and you see all these wonderful planes and you think, that looks really fun. I think I want to do that someday. And so, you know, as kids will do, they beg their parents, I really want to be a pilot, I really want to be a pilot. So my father kindly sent me off to glider lessons. And I did that for a while. And then college came around, got distracted. This happens a lot with people flying. Life interferes with their flying. I went to college, did the whole college thing. And then I got to Rochester. And my wife and I were, newlyweds, and after our finances got intermingled, she said, "Hey, what's this bank account over here? It's like a couple $1,000s." And I said, "Well, that's my flying fund. Like when I finally get my pilot's license." So she said, no, go out and go do it tomorrow. And so I got signed up. I came out to the Rochester airport. I started my journey. And within 2 years, I had not only my private pilot's license, but I also had my instrument license. And the instrument license just allows you to fly through clouds or worse weather. And that was the start of my flying career, and I really, really enjoyed flying. I want people to think about, when they see that Soul airplane flying around up there, I want them to think about how much fun that pilot is having and the freedom that they're enjoying. You can just kind of go, and there's no TSA, there's no, you have to go through these cages to get down to your airplane. It's really just freedom at its best.
Warrior 901 Mike, traffic about 3 miles east your position, southbound indicating 3400.
After I got my flying license, I joined this wonderful club that's right here in Rochester, Minnesota. It's called the Southeast Minnesota Flying Club. Been around since 1958. In the flying club, we have 2 planes. One is a Cessna 172. It's a good trainer. It's a good one to start out on. And then we have the Piper Archer. Again, sometimes used for training, but more often for long distance flying. And as you look in those planes, they have something called a 6-pack. And it gets that word because as you look at the instrumentation, there are 6 instruments that look like round gauges. They're always in the same place. And no matter if the plane was built in Eastern Europe or in China, all these instruments are always in the same places. So that when a pilot goes from one plane to the next, they know where to look for the information that they need.
Sierra, there's some traffic coming off runway 13. What's your altitude now?
There's never been a better time to become a pilot. Just think of GPS alone. Back in the 70s or in the 50s when you were driving your car around, you never knew really where you were. You were on the way from Austin to Rochester, Minnesota. You're on the interstate somewhere, but you didn't know that you were going to be there in 20 minutes and 33 seconds, right? Today you do. And so that same sort of navigational qualities are available in the plane. And another thing that's just absolutely huge is that in today's aircraft, we can bring in the weather to the cockpit. We can see those same pretty pictures for rain that you see on your television when they're doing the weather in an airplane, more or less real time. We can also see real-time traffic in the aircraft on our screens, as opposed to just seeing them visually. For all these reasons, you're so much safer flying today than you were in years past.
Hey, Dodge Center traffic, Cirrus 78 Juliet Bravo.
Today, I would say pilots are pilots. They adapt to the technology that they have before them. And I don't think pilots today are better than the older pilots or legacy pilots, or vice versa. I think they're just pilots. Airports are a resource that a lot of people who aren't pilots don't really realize is a really, really nice thing to have. Fillmore County Airport, Dodge County Airport, Austin has a wonderful airport, Albert Lee has a wonderful airport. Every small community has these wonderful resources called airports.
There's nothing better than going out on a nice day like it is today and just goofing around. I mean, how cool is it for you to just say, hey, where do you want to go today? Let's go to Austin. I mean, sure, it costs a lot for avgas maybe to go over there, etc. But you know what? This is what flying's all about. You just, get your keys out, get your headset out, and go out to the runway and go out and have some fun. I mean, that's what it's all about, man.
Everybody who wants to be able to fly should feel like they can. And I'm very happy to bring up anyone who wants to go flying anytime, just to give it a try. Contact the Flying Club. We'll set you up with a demo flight and welcome you into the flying community.
Hoffman Apiaries near Janesville began honey production in 1873. 60 years later, it was one of the largest honey producers in the state and was featured in publications such as the American Bee Journal. Today, Hoffman Apiaries is on the National Register of Historic Places and is being restored as an interpretive center. The caretakers are fourth-generation Hoffmans. Let's pick up on the buzz.
Everything happened in the honey house, yeah, everything. Building, manufacturing, repairing of equipment, everything happened in this building. I'm Larry Hoffman, the owner of Hoffman Apiaries, which was devoted to the raising of honeybees and the production of honey. The place has been under the Hoffman name since 1873. My great-grandparents, Valentine and Rosalia Hoffman, started out here with 40 acres, bought more land till it got to be a total of 100 acres. Valentine died in 1900, and then one of his sons, Emil, took the property over. Early on, he decided he was going to raise pigs, purebred Chester white pigs. So in about 1903, a swarm of honeybees lit on a bush next to the house. And Emil apparently knew enough about honeybees to know that they would crawl into almost anything that was placed before them if they're swarming. So he fashioned some sort of a makeshift hive, and in they went. And then that started him on his lifelong business from that point. And by the mid-20s, he was almost certainly the largest honey producer in the state of Minnesota. So once he started on his journey of keeping bees, within 3 years, the honey was making more money than the pigs were. So he decided to sell the pigs and go into honey production full time. In 1907, the business was doing well enough and getting big enough so that he needed a facility to do the extracting and all the other processing that was necessary. And so he converted what was the hog barn into a honey house. Operated it that way until 1923, when a bigger building had to be built, so he added on to the existing structure, and we have what we have today and what we see today. And it was considered to be a really state-of-the-art operation. American Bee Journal really got to know Emil, and I think one writer, can't remember his name now, but he really liked Emil and he loved this place. And in fact, he did 2-issue spread on this honey house with a floor plan and pictures and all kinds of things. And at one point he said, paraphrasing, any beekeeper who is interested in running 500 colonies should make it worth their while to drive however long it takes them to get here to see this place. It's that good. In the 20s, he was running 1,000 colonies. And anybody that knows the beekeeping industry and the history of it knows that in those days, 1,000 colonies was a huge amount. Height of the operation, which I'm going to say is in the 20s into the early 30s, Emil had probably as many as 3 people working for him here, and that they had a room in the house that they stayed in. It's very labor intensive, running 1,000 colonies. If you're a good beekeeper and know what you're doing, you have to attend to these bees and make the rounds on a regularly scheduled basis to make sure that everything stays copacetic, if you will. He died in 1934 young, and my father, Charles, then took the operation over and ran it until '85 when he retired. Except when he took it over, he about halved the size of it. And he'd have one person never more than one. He had a schedule that he very carefully hewed to, attending to the bees. And then in August, he'd start to extract. The honey is picked up at the various bee yards, brought to the honey house, unloaded, offloaded into a room called the warming room, which before extracting is heated so to 100 degrees or so that the honey will flow. Then it's brought into the extracting room where the cappings are taken off the combs, and the combs then are put into a centrifugal force machine called an extractor, which throws the honey out. Goes from the extractor into large holding tanks, and from there is drawn out at the bottom into large 55-gallon drums or to small 4, 5, 10-pound containers for the sale to the public. So now my wife Janet and I are living here and taking care of the place, 4th generation. Hoffman Apiaries is one of only 3 sites having to do with beekeeping that's on the National Register of Historic Places. And we had great help. Joan Mooney, the director of the Waseca County Historical Society. We're standing up on the 3rd floor looking around, and oh, this is just so great. She's looking around. I said, yeah, but you know, it's got problems, it needs a new roof. And then she said, oh, you've got to save this. And she started the whole thing at that very moment, because she said, I could talk to so-and-so, I could talk to this person, that person, and I'm starting to think, maybe we got a shot here at actually saving this beautiful old building. She started working and she got an evaluation made, and that passed, and then she got the nomination, and that passed, and there's an interpretive grant that she got that we have set up in place due to the Minnesota Legacy Fund, without which none of this would be happening. The plan for this building is to restore the exterior, the shell of the building, to as close to what it looked like when it was new in 1924. That's the goal for the outside. The interior, we're not going to do much with because it's kind of history as it sits, really. We're going to expose as much of it as possible. There are things in here that we're going to get rid of so that it's a little more open, a little cleaner. And we have some of the original equipment is going to be coming back. There'll be static displays only, but we will get some of that equipment back. Signage, graphics that we'll have placed around the place so that people as they go through can see a little bit more of what it looked like back when it was fully operational. So the idea will be to have tour groups come through, small or large, and we'll show them what happened here as much as possible. So yeah, everything happened in this building. It's a sacred spot for us.
As you drive near the town of Good Thunder, you might notice in a farmyard what looks like the Statue of Liberty and the Eiffel Tower. This is the workplace of Robin Block, a metal fabricator. She learned her trade from Arnie Lilo, who built the Eiffel Tower for his wife. Robin spent 7 years working with Arnie and has continued his life's work. Let's watch the sparks fly.
My name is Robin Block, and I am a metal fabricator. I met Arnie at a local restaurant that I worked at in 2003, and then in 2013 I was in a bad downhill skiing accident, and after that I asked him if he would teach me what he does, because he was always talking about how he's willing to teach everybody. And I have a brain injury, and art is really good for a brain injury, so I approached him and he said he would be willing to teach me, and I kind of just never left. He was the teacher and he taught me very well. It was a long, slow process. I mean, I was out here for 7 years with him, and he taught me to weld and to grind metal and, you know, to use a lot of the equipment. And there was a lot of mistakes I made and I still make today, and, you know, that's part of it. But it's a learning curve, and it's a fun learning curve. And if you tried, you don't fail. So I try. His first piece was a weather vane that he made in '98, and from there he slowly started adding to his yard, and he retired and he decided that he wanted to do this as a hobby. not as a job, but as a hobby, and he slowly started adding pieces from there. So we have the Jesse James theme park, and that covers, we have a train that actually does move on tracks, and that is the Omaha 1, which the Sontag brothers robbed, and then it covers like the Northfield Banks and all the way down to Bencoe Hill in Mankato, which they called Pigeon Hill, to the railroad tracks where the boys were found and the conductor called in back in the day on how they ever did it, to let them know that there was people under the bridge. Then we can go, if we go around, there is the Crazy Horse display with a displays 4 years of Crazy Horse's life. And there is a section that is Noah's Ark, which has the Ark and the rainbow and animals going up to the Ark, walking side by side, male and female. And inside the Ark, Arnie spoke about how long it took to build the Ark and the process, and a little bit about Noah's Ark. Then you come to a little section, there's a bunch of children's cutouts as far as Minions and the Little Mermaids and a unicorn and anime, all that stuff. And then Golden Gate Bridge to a well pump that works, Statue of Liberty. There's a little bit of everything. Elvis Presley is over in the back with some music notes. So a little bit of everything for everybody. Everything is metal, except the actual ark. The actual ark is made out of Colorado blue spruce that we cut down on the farm and did ourselves, but everything else is metal. We do have the world's largest firing rifle. It is made out of metal. It shoots 2 golf balls or black powder. You would load it like you would a muzzle loader. It is a Winchester 30-30 replica. We do a lot of parades with that, and we take it to there's a cowboy show, and we take it to there. Otherwise, we have an event once a year that's free to the public out here, and we'll shoot it then as well. The Golden Gate Bridge, that was him. He built that in 2015. He went there and he really wanted to build it, and he just said, I'm gonna build it, and he did. Arnie's wife got sick and she wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, and so he built the Eiffel Tower for her so she could see it before she passed away. And up on the very top is the Eiffel Tower sideways, but it's also her family crest up there. In his life, he invented a snowmobile oven, and he invented an ice saw, and he did a stove that it was an outdoor stove, and he has numerous patents. He was Minnesota's largest ginseng farmer. He took a course and taught himself how to be a taxidermist. There's so many incredible things that this man has done in his life, and a lot of it is displayed in the museum that we have out here that's dedicated to him. The things that man could teach somebody is just awesome. He passed away in 2021. He always told me that nobody can take away from you what you've learned, and that is huge. Because after my brain injury, you know, I had to learn to walk and talk and everything, and they took my driver's license, and you know, for a while, and that is so powerful. So I try to learn as much as I can all the time. When I get stuff cut out in the shop, I always ring a bell, and you know, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. But it was Arnie a nice thing, you know. He had this bell that he was being funny and would ring, you know. So I ring it, and I know that, you know, he can hear it, and he's like, "I'm proud of you." It's a really thrilling feeling to be able to say, "Yes, I did this, and here it is, and now everybody else can enjoy it and see it." And it's like, oh, I made that, you know. It's just that excitement, you know. It made somebody else happy to see this. It's not work, it's fun. The excitement of things that you can create, and you can be as creative as you want to be, and your mind just goes, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, this is a really cool idea, let's try this. And sometimes you fail at it, but you're like, I tried, and it's so exciting. And it takes a lot more patience, because it's almost like right away working with somebody who is a lot younger than I am, just teaching them something new, and I'm not grasping everything right away. So it's a lot more. But he did it, and he did it with a smile on his face, and he taught me what I know.
We've reached the end of this trip. Thanks for riding along. See you next time, off 90.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.